welcome back. Just wanted to do a little meditation on the transformative value of suffering, particularly as an unavoidable but paradoxically also an integral part of what it means to be a human being, what it means to be an organism in this sort of often confusing and chaotic kind of world. A sort of plane going overhead. I think suffering is, as the central Buddhist kind of teaching attests to, it's an inherent aspect of life. We come into this world and we come out of it, and often that process of coming out of it, death is sometimes not a rosy kind of endeavour. We have to endure sickness and the dysfunction of our bodies as we enter into old age, and we see it all around us in our family members, our friends, and then we experience it ourselves, and this speaks to the impermanence of things. That we're not here forever. We are these transient processes that come in and then out of the world, and perhaps we've done that many times before, and we'll continue to do it in the future. I guess that depends on what your perspectives are on the continuity of life, particularly after death, and reincarnation and all that sort of those topics, which I'm not going to go into here. But suffering, these sort of uncomfortable kind of elements of life, we can either choose to look at them or we can turn away from them. And I'd argue that it's probably more destructive in the long term to turn away from them, because obviously that turning away doesn't remove it from reality. It just removes it from your immediate gaze, and then it perhaps will come to bite you in the bum in a more unexpected way when you continue to go about your life with the illusion of it not being there. But I guess I want to sort of create this video as a sort of elucidation on some kind of thoughts to sort of reframe our perception in relation to suffering. Because often, it's often our reality is not a function of what we see, but rather the way we see. And this whole process of reframing, it's a reputable therapeutic technique. It's not as simple as gaslighting yourself into thinking everything is okay. It still requires a sort of a confrontation of reality as it is. But I guess I'm trying to sort of think about what sort of ways of engaging with reality as it is are more optimal than others. And I think sort of an attitude of general detached acceptance, particularly to discomfort, to the inevitability of suffering. I find that detached acceptance doesn't have to be troubling. I think it's the only real solution that I've really found. And I guess sort of that's almost like that's one side of this sort of the nature of acceptance in relation to suffering. There's also another dimension of sort of reframing suffering for its potential positive benefits, for its potential side where it can operate in a way to really mould us, to forge us into more actualized beings through the forces of fire, pretty much. And sometimes suffering can really beat us to our knees, and we feel nihilistic, like we've lost all sort of meaning to life because our circumstances are so terrible. And it's remarkable how life can do this to you and people around you. And sometimes it can just feel random, absurd. Like, what have you done to ask this to fall upon you? But, not to joke around, but, we all love a comeback story, don't we? We all like a story where it seems as though everything is falling apart, like there's no way out, but amidst all the chaos, all of the confusion, one overcomes it, and one does find a way out. And the amount of self-esteem that one can truly and honestly achieve from being able to pull themselves out of adversity, I think it's one of the things that really provides true, authentic meaning and spice and true purpose almost, amidst suffering, Because no matter how dark the world gets, we can all choose to be sort of beacons of light, We can choose to reject the decadence that maybe appears around us, and we can choose to find that inner resolve, that inner peace, that kind of stoic kind of peace amidst all of it. This isn't a copium, this is just reality, And maybe what I'm sort of articulating is the cross-cultural, the perennial kind of aspect of the hero's journey as it relates to human beings particularly. We need these sort of mythologies, these stories to orient our lives. And often the stories of our culture, particularly modern culture, these stories of you live, you get a job, maybe you have a family, and you die, where they're woefully inept, They're woefully inadequate towards providing true, authentic meaning to a person, I think. And in that sort of that normlessness, you are forced to find within yourself what really gets you going, what gets you passionate, what stirs the fire in your belly, Because walking around like a zombie, like a ghost, feeling tired, overworked, and bored, is no way to live, I think. But that seems to be the standard that is set, that is expected, that is forced upon people nowadays. You only have to look around at people. Say you're on public transport or in the London Underground or something. Look around at people, as they're gormlessly staring at their phones. Do they look happy? Do they look fulfilled? Or do they look like they've been thoroughly afflicted by a society that does not create actualized people, but rather worker drones? People who are just there to be cogs in a system, an institution that doesn't really care about them. And this is the thing, the institutions that society erects, does that really care about us, the individuals, or does it just want to extract exploit and drain us of our energies for whatever purposes they see fit, you know. Because, you know, we human beings, we are a lot of the time groupish individuals. We want to feel parts of groups, parts of things that are larger than ourselves. But what do we do when the group becomes parasitic, when the group turns in on itself, becomes suicidal, and is no longer working to advance the health and well-being of the people in the group, but it's, you know, you see small sections of it becoming almost like cancers that are optimizing for their own sort of benefit at the expense of everyone else. You know, and there's a very deep evolutionary dynamic to this, and it particularly relates to the evolutionary problems of explaining altruism and cooperation between organisms and stuff. But I don't want to get too into that because I don't want to go on a slightly autistic intellectual quote unquote. I don't know. I'm not going to refer to myself as intellectual. I like thinking about stuff, you know, and just being curious about the world. But yeah, it does seem that society isn't cooperative at all. You know, everyone's in their own individual rat races, and they're all stressed and overworked, and they just care about their own narrow focal point, what's in front of them. And, you know, we need more people to zoom out, to view the bigger picture, and to really think about, at a broader scale, you know, where is society, where is civilization going? Is this a optimal direction? Because I look around, I look at the mental health epidemic, and I think, well, it's clearly fucking not, you know? It's clearly not. And I don't want to be overly doomerist in anything what I say, because I'm not a doomer, you know. I'm realistic about the challenges that confront me and confront other people around me, and I feel a strong compulsion to do what I can to point people to look at these things, and point people not in this way that, like, oh, it's all shit, we can't do anything, but rather, no, look at this and we can do something different. You know, societies by their very nature are always transient things. They don't last forever. There are always going to be stages of, you know, massive progress and then decadence and decline. And but in the ashes of that chaos of societal decline, you know, new forms of social organisation arise out of it. And I'm interested in the new. I'm interested in the changes and in the ways that we can erect more humane ways of living amongst ourselves, because, you know, it's our current ways of being leave a lot to be desired. But gosh, you know, I started from a meditation of suffering and ended up here, but that's been interesting.